The Bahamas Tonight Northern Edition starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Megan Shepard. Thank you so much for tuning in. Topping news, the residents of the Williamstown community expressing safety concerns tonight and is calling on the authorities to step in and fix the problem. The concern centers on inadequate lighting and says if it is allowed to continue, it can cause additional challenges. Italia Hall reports.
Bishop Leslie Woodside has been a resident of Williamstown for more than 50 years. He says a streetlight was erected by the Grand Bahama Power Company directly in front of his yard a few years ago, and during Hurricane Irma, a tornado damaged the light and twisted the utility pole. Woodside says since then he's been calling on the Grand Bahama Power Company to repair the light.
Which services this area, this park out here. Folks come out here during the evening, during the night, and with their family, particularly when it's hot in Freeport, and enjoy themselves. And there's no lighting in this area on the park. I called Freeport Power and explained to them my plight, and they told me that they're not responsible for the light.
He says there is a light located on every other pole in that community, and he questions why the light was once in front of his home cannot be repaired.
I said, well, if in fact you are not going to fix the light, then there's a arm of your light that fell off the pole that is obstructing my driveway. Would you come and move it then? They came right away and move it. Immediately they came and move it and take it. And since then I keep calling and keep calling. My wife called. They said that that's not their responsibility to put the light back up.
He says he also reached out to his member of parliament, who contacted the power company and got the same response. His wife, Agnes Russell Woodside, says the light is needed as a measure of security.
It's normally be dark out there, and I need light to face my house. How could if someone come out here to do something wrong, how could I address it when the light is not on? Light is important.
Italia Hall, ZNS Network News.
An apparent sickout at the Bahamas Telecommunications Company is said to be having a major impact on BTC's operations across the country. We understand that hundreds of employees have called in sick for the second day. President of the Bahamas Communications and Public Officers Union, Dina Roll, says BTC has been completely shut down on Grand Bahama.
Two days ago, Sabrina, we invited our members to a social that happened across the island, and as a result of the social, I understand that my members were experiencing some symptoms, and they called in sick yesterday, and my reports are that they are continuing to feel under the weather, and so they remain out today. Based on my reports coming in from all of the islands, the symptoms are extremely harsh on them, and it appears that they may likely be out for another few days. As a matter of fact, it just happened that we had some middle management persons, a good number of middle management persons also attended the social, and they are also impacted. So it's about in the high 90% of persons, of employees that were impacted.
Roll says the BCPOU and management at BTC are in ongoing negotiations for a new industrial agreement, but he says that has not been going well.
We are in the midst of a contractual negotiations we have an agreement that is almost 2 years expired, and we've been around the table the last time on Monday past, and management has presented us with what they regard as their final offer, what we in the union deemed as extremely offensive. And that is really the reason why we called the social.
With the new mega cruise port closer to becoming a reality, residents on Grand Bahama are being admonished to prepare for the impending economic benefits. The Minister of Tourism, the Honorable Dionisio Tiagler, says that Carnival Cruise Line currently brings in some 460,000 passengers, and with the development of the new port, that number could increase to well over 1 million.
The key will be for Grand Bahama to develop attractions and interesting excursions to draw the people out of the port. So I'm challenging the residents of Grand Bahama to come up with creative business ideas that will draw those people out of that port, spending money in our economy, in our food and beverage outlets, going on excursions. I saw there was a nice jetty there where people could go on water tours. They had obviously thought about getting the people out onto buses, into taxis, and out into the economy. So that's our challenge. Just because they're spending a lot of money doesn't mean a lot of money is going to stay here. We have to come up with creative ideas, create businesses that will be able to feed off this 1 million+ foreign visitors that will now come through that port.
Switching gears, the Northern Bahamas SECME organization sending 2 schools from Grand Bahama to compete nationally at the bridge building competition in the nation's capital. Ramiko Knowles has more.
On January 18th of this year, the Northern Bahamas SECME organization conducted a bridge building competition at the Bishop Michael Eldon Auditorium, St. George's High School finishing first and Bishop Michael Eldon placed second. These 2 schools will be competing in the nation's capital on March 28th. President of the organization, Nonito V. Har Jr., talks about the competition.
There are 2 categories in the competition, the load category and the aesthetic category. The students has to build a popsicle bridge made up of 120 popsicle sticks, and they only allowed to use Elmer's glue to make the bridge. The bridge will be judged first by the aesthetic, by the design, and afterwards load will be hung on it so until it could sustain. Now, the highest load that the bridge was able to hold is 200 pounds.
Sponsoring the students' travel, the Bahamas Society of Engineers is a non-profit organization whose main purpose is to promote and bring awareness to engineering in the Bahamas. President Remington Wilchcombe says it gives them joy to sponsor this event.
4 years ago, we brought the bridge competition to Grand Bahama. This was being hosted in Nassau for years nationally, and so we saw it fit that we'll bring this competition to the high schools and the junior high schools in Grand Bahama to give them the opportunity to show their ingenuity in bridge building.
Students from the winning schools, Ayana Ferguson and Deshaun Joseph, say they are ready to compete.
We came first in the load competition and second in the aesthetics competition, and in going to Nassau with winning the competition, I expect greatness from our schools. I'll be representing from Grand Bahama, and I'm very much sure that we'll do extremely well.
We're expecting to improve upon the bridge that we had. We made plans and how we could modify it and make it stronger.
You're watching the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Stay with us. There's more news right after this break.
We're all best friends. To myself and my wife. A great character. You know, he'd do anything for you. He'd do anything for you. Used to go fishing sometimes, and he'd give me a call, Brad, you got any fresh fish in your freezer? No, Don, but I know you're going to bring me some.
I used to go down basically one time just about every morning, stop there and have coffee with him, and he would smoke his cigar and I would smoke my cigarette. We'd shoot the breeze. And Don was, as I mentioned, he was a Rotarian, and he did quite a bit of work in the community, and he loved to decorate his store for Christmas.